All right, what is up, guys? My name is Favian Renkel. I'm here with Kickbase MLS, and we're doing something a little bit different today. Since this is such a big marquee matchup, this is such a big game this weekend, I wanted to dive a little bit more in depth for you guys, and I really brought on the best guest I really possibly could. A great friend of mine I have here with me, Hernan from We Are Austin TV, has been killing it since day one out there in Texas. Thank you so much, Hernan, for coming on, and it's a true pleasure.
Well, thank you for the introduction, mate. I mean, to hear that from somebody like you who has been killing it since I've met him, I mean, you've had humble beginnings. I remember when you were doing San Jose content, and look at you now, brother. So, to get that kind of intro from you, I don't take it lightly. I appreciate it. I mean, it's a lot of folks do give me the credit because they see my face in a lot of the content. They might hear my voice, but it's a team effort. So I want to give a shout out to all my boys down here in Austin that collaborate. And also Salome, she's also great. She's the girl in our team. And like I said, it's a team effort. And I just want to give them their flowers as well because they make us strong.
Yeah, no, I mean, you guys have been seriously killing it for so long. It's kind of a pleasure to bring you on as my first in-depth team guest because I don't know if there's any other kind of independent media that kills it as much as you guys do on all fronts. And I think this is a great way to introduce Austin FC to our Kickbase audience. So thank you again for coming on. And basically, I wanted to kind of talk about the Inter Miami Austin FC matchup this weekend. A lot of people thought this would kind of be, it's a pretty big event. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a huge event. But in my opinion, I don't see much buzz around it like I thought there was going to be. And that might be the case because Austin FC is not at full strength. Hernan, maybe you can help me with this. You kind of already know what big players are not going to be there. What do you think in the lineup kind of looks like?
So the lineup, honestly, Favi, I think it's going to look a lot like what people saw against LAFC, right? And it was honestly a lineup that did a pretty good job against an LAFC that is breaking records this season. They almost got that record of the no goals conceded taken away, VAR. I think rightfully so. They got the right call. Elias Sanchez did kind of make a play for it.
Yeah.
It was called for offsides. But if that would have gone in, I mean, the stadium would have erupted even more than where it was already at. But yeah, we were mentioning that lineup did have a lot of people, a lot of players that weren't there. Brandon Vasquez, season-ending injury at PayPal Park last season. In MLS Media Day, he said that he's been working and talking with the medical staff, and they were hoping. Well, they weren't really hoping at that point. They were saying that the Miami game was going to be, the moment, the match where he was going to make his big comeback. That was an MLS Media Day. A lot of people in Austin got excited for that. But as the weeks went on, as time went by, they didn't see Brandon Vasquez training with the team. He's been doing drills by himself, a lot of non-contact stuff, and it's not really a good sign for Austin FC fans that want to see Superman on the pitch for Austin. So he's definitely going to be out. He might be on the bench, but honestly, that's like a 30-40% chance. That may be high. Another big name, I know a lot of folks have really appreciated him this maybe more last season. They haven't really seen him this season. He hasn't played a match yet for Austin, and it's Owen Wolff. I mean, he had a breakout 2025. He was the offensive player for Austin FC. He had the most goal contributions for the club, and he's a player that you don't really expect that from, and he was that guy for Austin in 2025. Now, come 2026, in the offseason, he had to have a sports hernia surgery, and that's been having him sidelined since the offseason, and there's been a lot of questions around that because there are some folks down here in media also, they've been wondering, well, why was this done so late? Why couldn't it have been done before? In the offseason also, Owen got that U22 contract, which was massive for him, and he just hasn't been on the pitch for Austin FC yet, and a lot of Austin FC fans miss him. They can't wait for him to be out there, but the message that Austin FC fans and media last got from the coaching staff is that Owen Wolff had a good week before the international FIFA break, and there's a possibility that he could be ready for the Miami match after this, after this FIFA international break. But the media availability down here in Austin is going to be on Thursday. There's going to be a lot of information that's going to come out then. So hopefully there's an Owen Wolf update. But some guys and also Dani Pereira. I know a lot of people from Venezuela. They're big fans of Telasco Segovia, who is part of that Miami team. Dani Pereira, fellow countryman, I'm sure he would have loved to play in this game. I just don't see it happening. I don't think Dani Pereira is going to be ready for this match, but he's been involved in some training. We've seen him in photos at the St. David's Performance Center, so that's another guy that's most likely going to be sidelined. But a little bit of the players that are going to be back, Robert Taylor, a lot of Miami fans are going to remember that name, know that name. He's been out since the Minnesota game. He had a non-contact injury that I think it was a level 1 MCL sprain. It seems like he's going to be back. There's no official confirmation, but based on some stuff that we've seen online, that some stuff that's been posted by the club, looks like he's back. Looks like he's involved in full training or whatnot. So hopefully Robert Taylor, who is going to be a solid option off the bench, referencing that match against Minnesota. Austin did tie it 2-2. However, they were in control for big portions of that match. And Robert Taylor, Coach Nico Estevez, he told us that he had a phenomenal preseason. He scored a banger against Chicago at the Coachella Valley Invitational. And when he came off the bench for Austin FC in that Minnesota game, he was playing dangerous passes. He was taking on players. It looked like a different Robert Taylor than what we saw in 2025, right? And I know he was a big profile signing. A lot of folks were expecting big things from him coming from that inner Miami roster, playing with Messi, playing with those kind of guys. But 2025 was a little bit underwhelming for Robert Taylor. But in 2026, he started great. He was, he started, running, and then that injury happens, and a lot of folks were just it was just a gut punch for the people that really want to see Robert Taylor succeed with Austin FC. But it seems like he could be back, possibly off the bench. I don't see him starting in this game. One guy that it could be starting after his return from this is a weird one, Fabi, because Jaden Nelson, I know a lot of folks know this name, very offensive player, very fast player down the wing. His hair is second to none. Everybody knows it. But he was left off of the Canadian national team roster, the camp that Jesse Marsh just had. Jesse Marsh said it himself in a press conference that because of all the injuries that Canada is currently dealing with, Alphonso Davies being one of them, it was a list of like 10 or 11 players, Jaden Nelson being one of those. They decided to change the camp from the last preparation before the World Cup to the last chance for new guys to show the coaching staff of the Canada national team what they have, what they can offer before this, World Cup event that happens. And Jesse Marsh mentioned that he talked to Jaden Nelson and he said, hey, I want you to stay in Austin, work on getting back to full fitness, getting back to that best form that you can be. And we saw what he did with the Whitecaps. That's probably one of the big reasons why Austin FC got him. I know Jaden Nelson was looking for PT to secure his spot with that national team, but it seems like Jesse Marsh is really counting on him, and he wants him to be fit. Before the international break, when Austin FC played LAFC, Jaden Nelson was questionable on the availability report, but he did not even make the match when the official roster came out before the match. So it seems like, based off of, again, some training videos, some clips that Austin FC has been uploading online, it looks like Jaden Nelson has been taking part of, team drills, team practices. We saw a video where he absolutely rips a shot into the back of the net. I mean, that's full power. And one of the things, the thing that the coaching staff thinks that has been keeping him out is a pinched nerve, and it's been a hamstring issue with him. So he hasn't really had an off season. When he left Vancouver to join Austin, Coach Nico mentioned in the first media availability that it was a very mature move by Jaden Nelson to take care of his housing situation with his new club in the new city, kind of making the move down here, and then going to the camp because Canada had a game against Guatemala, if I'm not mistaken. Jaden Nelson was part of that. He played 80 minutes. Coach Rico wasn't too happy about the 80 minutes that Jaden Nelson got. And ever since then, he's been carrying this little hamstring issue. But with this international break, it finally seems like Jaden Nelson got the rest that he really needed. And when Robert Taylor went down against Minnesota, that's kind of like the player that was subbing out for Jaden Nelson. Robert Taylor goes out the picture, and Jaden Nelson has been having to, carry the load for this Austin FC side. He hasn't played more than 60, 65 minutes for ATX just yet, but we're hoping that he is fully ready for this Inter Miami match. He's going to be needed 100%. So those are some of the players that Austin FC is definitely going to miss, and some of the players that are going to be back. I know that the international duty stuff is also kind of looming on this roster. Not so much. Mirtu Suni was the one that got the most minutes. I believe it was 173, 83 in one match, 90 minutes in another match. And then the second guy, Joseph Rosales, he played 76 minutes in one friendly for Honduras against Peru and Spain. Facundo Torres went with Uruguay, didn't play a single minute. Svatok also left with the Ukraine, didn't play a single minute. So for those two players, it's going to be more of the travel, more of the jet lag, and the fact that they haven't had the full week with Austin FC. But a guy like Facundo Torres, I 100% see him in the starting 11 for Austin FC. But definitely going to miss Brandon Vasquez. Most likely going to miss Owen Wolf, but we'll see what happens. Danny Pereira going to miss him 100%. And just happy to most likely be having Robert Taylor back. And Jada Nelson looks like he is also back.
Look, this is why I say you're the best. I mean, I gave you a little bit question, and you go on for 10 minutes and do everyone's job. So thank you so much. No, I appreciate. No, I love it. I love it because this is something that the kick-based fandom doesn't really know, right? This is the injury report. This is not, MLS doesn't give this out. This is Hernan at We Are Austin TV, guys. So make sure you check him out. I wanted to ask you a couple of questions here about the guys who are starting, because in kickbase, sometimes you can get really lucky with some players that are very low in value at the moment, and they might have a big game. So a guy like, excuse me if I'm wrong, Duberzaski may start in this game, and he's valued at $6 million, while Owen Wolf, is a superstar player, is valued at $20 million. So it's something to kind of think about. Okay, if I can get some sort of minutes from Duberzaski, this might be a good play. Another guy that comes to mind is a former LA Galaxy man, Christian Ramirez. Excuse me. I think that this could be a good play too. He's fairly cheap in the game. But if you had to choose, Hernan, a guy who you think is going to show up in this match, no matter what the price, it can be whoever, who do you think is going to either be a huge playmaker for Austin in Miami, or a guy like Heinz Zijk, do you think he's going to shut down the Inter Miami offense? What guy do you think is going to play the best in Miami?
Man, I really wish that this Miami game would have happened a week after the LAFC game. I think the international break, it came in a very difficult spot for Austin FC because, they were coming off of a loss against Charlotte, which Beetle got that red card that a lot of Austin FC fans argue that it was harsh. I've heard a lot of Austin FC fans say that it was, pretty spot on by Rosendo Mendoza. He had to go to VAR 3 seconds. He came back, red card. And then they lost to RSL in one of just a banger last minute ish goal by, I think it was like a debutant player, very, very young guy. Yep. But RSL's a tough game. They're coached very well. Shout out to Pablo Mastroeni. And Diego Luna came off the bench. He wasn't even 100% fit. I mean, imagine if he was 100% ready to go. Right. But even then, Austin was holding on quite well in that game, right? So they were coming off 2 losses. They played this LAFC game, and a lot of people had them written out. I mean, LAFC is another favorite to win a lot of things in this league. They had Sonny, they had Bouanga, and Brandon Heinz Zijk just pockets Son. Yep. Like I think nobody expected him to do that. A lot of people at that stadium here in Austin were there to see Son. I bet they wanted him to score a goal, and Heinz Zijk was like, no. He went home. He got home that night, took out his keys, took out his wallet, and he took out Sonny. You know what I'm saying? And I know a lot of LAFC fans aren't going to like to hear that, but it is true. And I mean, Svatok had a lot to do with it, but just referencing that last second tackle, that last minute tackle that Heinz Zijk had against Son, I mean, that saved the entire game 100%. We also talked about Christian. Christian Ramirez is a player that had his first start against LAFC with Austin at Q2 Stadium. He didn't do too bad. I think Christian Ramirez is a player with a boatload of talent. We've seen what he's done in this league. But I still believe that Christian Ramirez is the best coming off of the bench around the 70th minute, 65th minute. That's where he's really made his name in this league 100%. I mean, he's done phenomenal things in this league, but at this point in his career, he's lethal in those moments of the match. But I like the partnership that he had with Mirtu Suni in this game. We talk about Duberzaski. I think he is a player that rises to the occasion. You mentioned how he's cheap. This is going to be an emotional game from him. He's Argentine. Argentine. Of course, he's been looking up to Leo Messi. I'm sure he's been looking up to Mascherano. He's probably not been looking too much up to Rodrigo de Paul, but I'm sure he knows about him quite well. So, you asked me, who do I think is going to be a playmaker? Who I think is going to be somebody to, kind of look out for? Maybe some folks aren't going to want to hear this, and I know maybe I don't want to sound too biased or anything, but I'm looking at Mirto Usuni. I'm looking at Mirto Usuni because he had a phenomenal game against LAFC.
Yeah, he did.
Phenomenal game against LA. A lot of folks said that it was his best game in an Austin FC jersey. I agree with that. Fun fact, he had the most touches in a match ever for Austin FC against LA, which I think is very interesting. If it was any other keeper except Hugo Lloris who could save the Titanic, Mirto Usuni would have had a goal, not talking about the one that VAR took away late in the match. He took one defender off and he got a shot off with his left boot. Lloris makes a phenomenal save. And Mirto Usuni is coming back with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. His country, Albania, lost to Poland and Lewandowski. They unfortunately have to wait for their first ever World Cup. So I'm thinking Usuni is going to be coming back with that similar, kind of mindset that he had against LAFC. I think he's going to be coming back with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, kind of want to maybe gets a little bit of personal revenge, not against Miami or anything, but Usuni is a player that definitely rises to the occasion. We saw what he did against Sun and LAFC. Now he's got to play against Inter Miami, and Usuni is probably going to be one of the most expensive players for Austin FC because he's a DP on a kick base. But with guys like Brandon Vasquez out, with guys like Danny Pereira out, with guys like Owen Wolf potentially out, maybe coming off the bench, Facundo Torres, and Mirto Usuni are going to be the main playmakers for Austin FC. Dubersarski is a cheap option, yes, but he's not too offensive. He's more of a DM player. I think his best contributions on the field in this Miami game are going to be, helping out those two center backs, giving Facundo Torres and the player, whoever is on the left, or depending how Austin FC comes out, that freedom to go forward and him taking care of things in the back. So I'm looking at the guys up top like Mirto Usuni, Facundo Torres, and even Christian Ramirez, but they're probably not the cheapest options available on Kickbase. But those are the names that I'm looking at for this game to really make things happen.
Yeah, so let me give you a little bit of context, but great picks. I like the picks because we're big here at Kickbase with revenge games. I was almost looking at Robert Taylor if he was fully fit, right? Maybe he sneaks onto the starting lineup and has a revenge game. But bringing up that aspect of Usuni having a personal revenge game, I actually like that a lot. So in Kickbase, he's only worth about $16 million. Let me put that in perspective. Messi's worth like $60 million. So we're talking about 4 times the amount to kind of get Usuni production. And I think, Usuni had maybe not the best game in Kickbase last week because he didn't score that goal. He had about 80 points. A great game in Kickbase is about 200 points. A goal is about 100 points in 80 points. So he would have had that if Lloris, like you said, Lloris didn't have a crazy save to stop him from getting on the score sheet. So great pick. I love it. I like Austin FC kind of being a bit of a spoiler in a way where Inter Miami's leaky at the back. And I think Usuni, at the price point he is, like Hernan said, is a great pick to kind of maybe sneak 1 or 2 past that back line. I know Maxi Falcone is back, and I don't think he's always, on his A game, and it might be kind of an adjustment, but I think this game could have goals in it. But now that you're here, and we'll kind of end with this, what's your score prediction? Let's go with that.
So I'm hearing a lot of negative takes from Austin FC fans. They're not negative. I think that they're just being real, right? I think Austin FC fans are being negative. They know what they're up against. The atmosphere is going to play a big part in this game. I mean, new stadium, literally new stadium, NU, not NEW.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to be traveling for this game. I was looking on X earlier today, and I was just searching up Miami, and I saw a post from, I think, like a reporter down there in Miami that said that the international airport made an announcement to just arrive early because they're expecting a lot of traffic. I know there's going to be hundreds of Austin FC fans going out there. I think maybe 300 Austin FC fans that are going to be traveling for this game.
Wow.
And yeah, just like you said, this Inter Miami side, if I'm not mistaken, they have 9 goals for, 8 against. It's just 1 goal difference for them, and that's not something that you would think is Miami's record so far. You know, they're in 3rd place. They got 10 points in the East. They got knocked out of CCC very early. I'm sure they're kind of kicking themselves on that. I know Jorge Mas wants that title, wants that trophy. They're talking about Libertadores as well. But I was looking on their recent matches, right? They whenever they had to play CCC, they had a little bit of lackluster results, right? They had a 0-0 against Charlotte. I know they just recently beat New York City FC 3-2. However, it seems like when they're coming into a match a little bit tired, at least in this small sample size of this 2026 season that we have so far, they struggle. They struggle a little bit. And this is an Austin FC side that has probably been building themselves up, are ready to play spoiler of this massive, massive party. And another thing, I saw that Leo Messi played 90 minutes in one of Argentina's game and 45 minutes in another one of their matches recently. And I think that's also going to play a part 100% as well. So my score prediction, I think, is going to be a little bit different. And like I said earlier, I don't want to sound too biased. I don't want Austin FC fans to come after me and say, oh, you're selling false hope or whatnot. But I genuinely think Austin FC can get either a 2-1 result or a 2-2 draw in New Stadium. I think a draw or a win is definitely on the cards for Austin FC. I mentioned earlier that I wish this game happened right after the LAFC game. Maybe they're going to be a little bit sluggish, or that momentum is going to have disappeared or whatnot. But you know, those players in the locker room have been telling themselves, hey, we're playing against Messi. We're playing against Mascherano. We're playing against Rodrigo de Paul. We're playing against some of the biggest names that are in MLS right now. And one more thing that I wanted to add on the Mirtu Zuni topic is he is the biggest Cristiano Ronaldo fan that you might know out there. He played a game against Ronaldo's Juventus once upon a time, scored a goal, and he hit the C. He hit the C. Ronaldo took it as disrespect in the first half, but then at the end of the match, he explained to him, he was like, hey, I did it. I did it because you're my idol. I love you. They exchanged jerseys. So Mirtu Zuni could be playing for the honor of his idol. He's playing against Leo Messi.
Wow.
It's gonna be that definitely goes into play, and I know that's outside the pitch or whatnot, but just putting all of the things together, Facundo Torres going back to the state of Florida where he had so much success with Orlando. And like we mentioned before, mate, this Miami side is leaky at the beginning of the season. They haven't been too great, and I really think Austin FC can play spoiler 2-1. You're not going to shut them out or get out of there with the 2-2. It's still a positive result in my eyes.
Yeah, look, I think you might, with that little story there, I think you might have sold me on Ozuni. I mean, I think you have to start him, guys. If you're really thinking about it, 16 million is actually pretty cheap for a striker who's gonna have a revenge game for Ronaldo fans, you know. So it's exciting. It's exciting times. I agree with you. I think it's going to be closer to a 2-2 draw, but I think there's going to be points to be scored in kick base, and there's also going to be goals in this match. So Hernan, thank you so much to come on the Kickbase podcast and kind of talk about this in-depth look at Austin FC right before a big game. Where can everybody find you?
Yeah, mate, definitely. You could check us out on Instagram. I think that's where a lot of people might recognize us from. Actually, I want to send a shout out to the Inter Miami Zone, if I'm not mistaken. They are current, and I've done the research. They're currently the biggest team-specific independent outlet on Instagram. They got like 16.8 thousand. We're the second biggest at 5.5. We're about to hit 5.6. Shout out to my boys at Top Bid 90. They're also soaring as well. So you can definitely check us out on Instagram. That's where we're the strongest. We've been growing crazy. Academy content has really been helping us grow recently with, GA Cup and all that stuff. A lot of folks, friends and family of the players have been checking us out, and they stay because they see that we're a good source for news, updates, transfer rumors for Austin FC. I know a lot of folks have left the X platform, or you may call it Twitter or whatnot, but we're on there as well. I'm also been trying to post a lot on Blue Sky. I know a lot of people kind of navigated there. We have the app. We are active on there. And we also have a TikTok account, all under We're Austin TV. You can check us out on there. Maybe you might see us as WAATV, just to keep it short. But you can check us out on those main platforms. Our podcast drops on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. It's under the name of Top Flight, but it's the We're Austin TV icon. I definitely need to make the change. I think I'm gonna finally make it this season. I'm gonna say RIP to the Top Flight channel, but I'm gonna shift over to the We're Austin TV YouTube channel where the fan reactions drop. But I think it'll be better because you'll find all the content on one place. And then we also have a website. Shout out to Squarespace. They are not a sponsor, but they should sponsor Kickbase. And if they want to sponsor We're Austin TV, go ahead. We got a website that's powered by Squarespace. Pretty much everything that's posted on Instagram gets uploaded to the website automatically. We post our articles on there in English and in Spanish. Shout out to Diego Valencia, Scott Spetch, my G Jordan. And yeah, you can find everything on the website. We're also available on Substack. I know a lot of people are on Substack. They love that platform. So just kind of any major platform, you can most likely find our content. Anything that happens with Austin FC, transfer rumors, news, updates. If a player gets hurt, if somebody gets signed, we'll definitely be posting about it. And I want to say thank you to you, mate, for having me on here and being able to talk Austin FC, because as you can tell, I can go on and on and on and on.
No, we love it here. We truly love it, guys. Again, if you ever have a team or a team playing against Austin, or if you want to find out more about Austin, or if you want to be an Austin FC fan, We Are Austin TV is exactly where you need to start. And I remember Hernan brought me on in person for the Top Bin Flight podcast, and I still remember that day because they run a professional show out there, and they run a professional kind of independent outlet, so definitely check them out. They deserve all the credit. Hernan, thank you so much for being on, and hopefully let's see if Austin grabs some points in Miami at the new stadium.
Hopefully my take age as well.